For characters that make it to the very highest levels of play, level 19 and 20, a special reward awaits you. The ability to take an epic boon feat. These feats are really something else. Not only do they allow you to increase your ability scores above 20, they bring with them some staggeringly powerful effects.
But not all epic boon feats are made equal, and today we're going to take a look at all of the epic boon feats presented in the 2024 rules and rank them based on how good we think they are. There's a lot to discuss today, so let's get rolling.
This week's episode of our show is sponsored by the incredible map creators Shepeku. If you're looking for high-quality maps, scenes, and tokens to elevate your tabletop RPG games, then you gotta check them out. They are our absolute favorite creators for maps and a longtime supporter of the channel.
Whether you're a seasoned dungeon master or a player looking to bring your world to life, Shepeku has everything you need and then some. Shepeku's complete fantasy bundle is the ultimate way to level up your campaigns. For just $50 a month, you get maps, scenes, tokens. That's 3 subscriptions for the price of 2. This bundle gives you access to over 6,000 high-res battle maps, over 2,000 fantasy scenes, and over 300 hand-drawn tokens. Plus, there's tons of variations, animated versions. All of the maps have different seasons, different color palettes. The tokens are interchangeable, and you can actually customize them. There's so much being offered here.
One of my favorite things about Shepeku's maps are the amount of variations. You can get maps that are in the same location, but for day or night cycles, or different seasons, like in the winter or the summer or the fall, or different environmental or extraplanar effects, like the difference between like a flooded castle or a volcano castle. I love this element because it really helps you find exactly the map that is right for the encounter or the adventure that you're building.
And their brand new token builder is incredible. You can design your own characters, NPCs, monsters. You can mix and match different outfits, weapons, accessories. It's really perfect for creating unique characters or even randomizing full NPC groups for your session.
And best of all, their beautiful maps and assets are VTT ready for Roll20, Foundry, and Alchemy. You can drop the maps, scenes, and tokens directly into your VTT of choice with little or no extra hassle at all.
With Shepeku's complete fantasy bundle, you get weekly updates. That means that you're going to be getting new maps, new scenes, new tokens, and that's going to keep your content fresh, as well as the entire back catalog. They are constantly updating it. The content is always created with GM-friendly design, so you can focus more on storytelling and far less on your prep time. If you're ready to start creating unforgettable experiences for your players, subscribe to the Complete Fantasy Bundle now at shepeku.com and get everything you need to build epic campaign.
Again, sign up on shepeku.com. A big thank you to them for sponsoring this episode. And now, let's get on to the content. As always, quick overview of how we do our rankings. For us, the S tier ranking is a borderline must-have. For characters that can take it, almost any character benefits from taking it, and it improves almost any build to a massive and incredibly noticeable degree.
The A rank is going to be great for characters who can take it and often excel at a build or an option that is quite common in the game and pushes those options forward.
B tier means that the power level isn't quite reaching the levels of what the A and S tier do as a baseline, but there might be a build possible that propels that feat to compete with those with the right combination of things. But otherwise, it sits at kind of this middling level of power. It's certainly not bad, but there's generally another option that is still clearly better than it when you're not building around it.
And for the C tier, that is for the feats that have a pretty niche application. They're not going to come up a whole lot, and so they aren't going to be as immediately useful as a lot of the other higher options. There may be a build or a specifically designed character or a specific type of campaign where that feat excels, but even when it's excelling at its best that it can do, it still might not fall as high as A's or S's.
And for D tier, which we don't give out too often, but it does happen, these are like you didn't take an epic boon at all. They might be not relevant for sessions, entire gameplay sessions, and when they are, something else would have done the job or been able to completely replace it. Or it even just makes your character worse for taking it because it just doesn't work properly. Um, are there any D tier epic boon beats? We'll find out.
So let's just go in order. Let's talk about them, and let's see what shakes out as we look at the epic boons. And we're going to start with the Boon of Combat Prowess. With the Boon of Combat Prowess, you gain the following benefits. Your ability score increases by 1, any ability score of your choice, up to a maximum of 30. This is going to apply to all epic boon feats. Some of them are specific in which ability scores, but a lot of them are general. You gain Peerless Aim. When you miss with an attack roll, you can hit instead. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until the start of your next turn.
That's the part of the sentence that like makes my eyes pop, because this is once every turn on melee, ranged, or spell attacks. You just don't miss.
This means that if you're a character like a rogue who really needs to land that one attack that they get every turn to make sneak attack, this is a great pickup. But hey, if you're a fighter that makes 4 attacks at this level, then you're just increasing the chances of you landing all 4 attacks. If you make 3 and miss 1, no, you made all 4.
What this feat is giving you is incredible consistency in your damage output. It isn't raising your ceiling of how much damage you're going to do, but it's raising the floor, making everything that you're doing on your turn incredibly reliable. And
Your percentile chance of just like being able to land attacks. Just,
yeah.
I mean, there's nothing bad here. You're increasing your overall consistency. And like the fact that it doesn't specify weapon attacks, it doesn't specify melee attacks, it just says attacks, which applies to spell attacks, ranged attacks, and melee attacks. That kind of opens it up for almost anybody to benefit from this.
Yeah.
And I think it's an S.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that if you are like, obviously if you're playing a character that does not make attacks, then this will not be in consideration for you. But for any character that is, I think it is strongly worth considering because it just is so reliable. I guess the argument against it being S tier is that there might be certain characters that are in a support role or not making attacks that would not take this feat. But I think that given how often characters are making attacks in general, how great it is for everyone else, I'm comfortable giving this an S tier because I think that the characters that are not in that boat are going to be considering other things anyways. Speaking of the feat that a character that isn't necessarily making attacks might want to consider is the Boon of Dimensional Travel, which also is an any ability score increase epic boon.
You gain Blink Steps immediately after you take the attack action or the magic action. You can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space that you can see.
Again, this is every turn. So, you kind of get these first 2 epic boons that are just like, oh, wow, I get something that's happening every turn. And I think this is the painful choice, these 2 feats, because like this is so good to teleport around like this.
I do want to point out something that is very specific and needs to be taken into account if you're considering this epic boon. This is a get out of a bad situation, not get into where you want to be position-wise. You can't use this to close the distance. If you're the barbarian who really wants to make it into combat, you can't teleport until you take the attack action or the magic action.
And it is after you take the action, so you couldn't do something like, as a barbarian, throw an axe, teleport, and then make your subsequent attacks. You could, with a fighter, action surge, attack,
but
then teleport, then take another action.
I still think that it might not be the first choice. Like, they might go for the first one that we talked about over this one. But who this is great for is any ranged combatant, any spellcaster, and any skirmisher. If you are the archer on your team and you get swarmed by enemies, you can make an attack and then teleport 30 feet back to create that distance. 30 feet back could put you from a bad situation to behind the paladin and barbarian.
Well, it doesn't even consume your action economy either. So if you started your turn in a bad place, you can simply cast whatever spell you were going to cast, teleport out, and then move even further away.
What you could do as a spellcaster is run near the enemies, drop the important spell you need to drop, and like if you have a cone spell or an AoE spell, that
Thunder Wave. Yeah,
Wave,
run up to enemies, Thunder Wave them off a cliff, and then
teleport
yeah.
back. So there are a lot of use cases for this, and so I think this one's also an S.
I agree. Alrighty, next up we got the Boon of Energy Resistance. Again, we get any ability score increase we like. And we also get to choose resistance to any two of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, or thunder. So we can't choose the weapon-based damage types, and we can't choose force. And whenever we finish a long rest, we can change the choices. And then whenever you take damage of one of the types that you chose, you can use a reaction to direct that damage towards another creature you can see that isn't behind total cover. The creature has to make a dexterity save, or they take 2d12 damage of the corresponding type. I think this is not worth an epic boon.
I mean, okay. Here's the really hard part about this. Oftentimes, if there's a monster that deals a damage type, which triggers your energy redirection, that monster is usually also resistant or immune to that damage type.
Yeah.
So you're bouncing a weak attack back at them that might not even hurt them.
I think that this is a very weak reaction. And I think that by 19th level, characters have so many options for gaining resistance to a damage type that spending an epic boon feat to get admittedly an always on changeable resistance is just not worth it. Most notably, I think there's another spell that exists. It's this level 6 spell, Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron. It was added in the player's handbook, lets you conjure up uncommon potions.
And 6th level spells come back.
And
epic boons,
the
you
potions last until you cast the spell again.
Yeah.
So you can Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron the night before to make whatever
resistances,
whatever
potions of resistance.
that you need for your whole party. And then
rather than spending your one epic boon feat on yeah. When on paper it sounds cool, but when you think about it really, that like you get one epic boon really in your campaign, unless you're going way above 20th level and your DM's rewarding you epic boons instead of level ups, which is a thing that you can do. But that's a very rare case. So you get one choice. And compared to the two that we just went over, I don't see why I would pick this one.
I think that this is an absolute D tier. The redirect energy resistance thing, there are better things to do with your reaction, and there are so many other ways for level 19 and 20 characters to gain resistances when they need them that you should it feels like this feels to me like overpriced. That's why it's D tier, right? And again, what this comes down to, as a dungeon master, as a player, I would never recommend this feat to anybody ever, because there are so many other ways to get the result.
Fair. Yeah. I agree with giving it a D. It's tough because we are dealing with epic boon feats. So sometimes an epic boon feat can like sound good on paper for the game in general, but we need to think of it as like we're at 19th and 20th level. Does this equate to a feature that you should gain at 19th level? And that one just feels like, no, it isn't.
This epic boon feat, it's like you go to a buffet. You get your one ticket, your one trip up to the buffet, and you can fill your plate. And you've got like expensive Wagyu beef. You've got like beautiful, like rare sushi fish or like exotic dishes, and then there's chicken nuggets. And you took your plate and you got some chicken nuggets. Like you can get your chicken nuggies at McDonald's, right? Like your damage resistance is the chicken nuggets.
I love chicken.
I love chicken nuggets too. I love chicken nuggets. But like you can get your but you got your one plate to fill up here for your epic boon feat. You can get your chicken nuggets afterwards on your way home.
I want my chicken nuggets.
I love chicken nuggets too, but like it's just but you could get
No, I hear you.
yeah,
I hear
okay.
you. I really want chicken nuggets after this episode now.
Yeah, and you can have them.
Next up, we come to the Boon of Fate. You get to increase one ability score of your choice, and you get to improve fate. When you or another creature within 60 feet of you succeeds or fails a d20 test, you can roll 2d4 and apply the total rolled as a bonus or penalty. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest.
Who thought reading this that it was going to say you can't use this until the start of your next turn, like the previous ones? Like you kind of get set up reading the epic boon feats, being like, "All right, so I'm going to get this every turn," and then it's like, "Oh, short or long rest."
I do want to say, though, short or long rest is not actually the one that matters here. I think it's when you roll initiative, which means you do get this every combat encounter.
But the other ones I got every turn.
But, okay. This isn't as good as the ones you get every turn. I'm going to admit that. But if you add it to a halfling divination wizard with the lucky feat, this definitely fulfills a fantasy.
It does.
2d4 could be a big swing. Now, it can also be a small swing.
I just got used to having things every turn, and now I want things every turn, and this thing is a really nice benefit that I would love to do every turn. Because if this was every turn, it would be slam dunk S tier, the best epic boon feat of all.
And that's why it can't be.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is bad. I think that it applies to a specific build, a specific playstyle, and it's fun for that playstyle. There are people out there who love twisting the dice in their favor.
Yeah, but I want to do it more than once per combat.
But you can't, because then it's broken.
If it was proficiency modifier times per day, and then I could at least use it twice.
It's
like
every combat encounter.
It's just hard to know, because the thing with it, because you only get to use it. Okay, there's two things about this that I don't like. First of all is that it's once per combat. The second of all is that it's expended even if you didn't change fate. So like if you're going for the long shot, you used it.
Right, you need like a 4, and then you roll 2 1.
And like because you don't necessarily know what was rolled, it makes it really hard to decide, is this the roll that you want to flip?
And that's actually the hardest part of this, is knowing when the right time to use it is.
Yeah. And that's where I just think that's what really takes this one down for me, because on paper it's amazing. It's not a reaction, so you can do it anytime. You're very often going to be in this position where you don't know if it's going to be the thing that makes the difference. And that's where the most challenging thing is when you're using it on a roll that is a roll made by the GM, because then it's potentially hidden from you. It's a lot stronger when you're using it to like boost an ally's ability check about an ally's saving throw or an ally's attack roll. But the thing that makes it juicy, the thing that makes this juicy is the potential of a 2d4 penalty on an enemy's saving throw to stick a spell.
Yeah. And I think that's when you know when to use it. You're landing the big spell and you make the like big boss monster minus 2d4.
But the only thing that you know is that the boss succeeded the save. And so and here's the other thing. If that boss monster has legendary resistance, so they succeeded the save, you minus 2d4 them, and then
They fail in
they
Legendary
fail in
Resist.
Legendary Resistance it. So like,
Okay, then now we're getting a little metagamey, because if you know that the boss is a legendary monster, then you don't use this. But if you're fighting like,
but level 19, there's your
yeah,
legendary monsters become exceptionally common now.
yeah,
I think I I'm tempted to say my gut reaction was to give this a B, but there's a part of me that wants to say it's so difficult to use that it's a C because
I think you're right.
y- yeah,
As we're talking about it, I think like, but it's there are moments when this shifts the entire combat encounter.
yeah, but compare this. If you're using it to turn an ally that missed with an attack into a hit, it's like
Why didn't you just
just
take that first option so
the
that you,
boon of combat
yeah.
prowess, right? And like, yeah, you can use it to boost a skill check, but
I think reducing saving throws is actually probably the best thing, but again,
or making a save, but like, and then, but when you go onto the front of like skill checks and saving throws and attack rolls, like when you're trying to boost those things, there's so many more tools that 19th level characters have to like get you over the finish line to make your abilities succeed. And so, like, the thing that you want.
I'm willing to give this a C. I just still think the first two are such better options.
Yeah, I know that there's a character like the divination wizard probably makes this work,
It's a
but
C because, like I said about C, there is a specific build here that actually makes fun use of this. And I would definitely pick this if I was the divination halfling wizard with Lucky, and like if I had like silvery
yeah,
barbs in my like if I'm playing this character who DMs would hate, then yeah, I might take
yeah,
this just for an extra, no, reduce your saving throw by
yeah,
2d4, because it's fun. So there is a use case for this epic boon. It's just pretty niche.
yeah.
As we move on to the Boon of Fortitude, you get to increase one ability score of your choice, and you get Fortified Health. Your hit point maximum increases by 40. In addition, whenever you regain hit points, you can regain additional hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. Once you've regained these additional hit points, you can't do so again until the start of your next turn.
So this epic boon is tough 2.0.
Yeah,
It's literally except at 19th level, it's literally the same amount of hit points as tough because tough is 2 hit points per character level, so a 20th level character gets the same amount from both these feats.
yeah.
With the added benefit that this feat is giving you that extra healing and a +1 ability score boost.
So here are a few things I'll say. First of all, if you already took tough and you're playing like a character where having a big pool of hit points, I'm looking at you barbarians, could be cool to just be like, yeah, you can't kill me. I have so many hit
I
points.
feel like there was a build that we spec'd out that took this tough was a dwarf barbarian with maxed out con that had like something north of 300 hit points.
Yeah. Um, but when it comes to the healing aspect, I do want to point out, we say this all the time, healing is sort of a countermeasure. It's not really something that you're hoping. I mean, it does happen in games. I'm not
Mhm.
saying it doesn't. But compared to, again, something like being able to hit an attack that you miss every single turn versus increased healing. Now, the hit point pool's good. The increased healing is situational.
You know what's interesting about this one though? It kind of takes uh a life domain cleric's stacked aura of vitality over the top
Oh,
because
yeah.
because then the life domain cleric is adding if you're getting hit points from aura vitality on this, you're getting the 5 extra hit points per round from
So here's the play. You're a dwarf barbarian with the tough feat and this, paired with a life domain cleric, and then you just go out in front and nothing can kill you.
because then like aura of vitality is giving you like 2d6 plus 10 or well probably you're a barbarian so like you might even have like a con of +7 at this level because of the barbarian capstone. So you're getting like 15 hit points back per round from that. That's pretty impressive. Like, that's a lot of healing. Like, that's
Yeah.
regeneration.
And just the hit point pool boosting is pretty good on certain characters.
Yeah. Again, it's just hit points. And at this level, there's a lot more ways for monsters to mess you up that don't involve your hit points.
True.
But I don't think this is bad. I think it's a solid B.
I agree. It's a B. It suits certain characters. There are build options here, and now I'm just in love with this barbarian and life domain cleric, where the barbarian's like, yeah, I'm taking this because I'm unkillable.
Yeah.
Speaking of unkillable, not a good segue, but we're going with it. Boon of Irresistible Offense. So you get to increase either your strength or dexterity score by 1.
First epic boon feat that
That has a limiter on that, yeah. Overcome defenses. So the bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage you deal always ignores resistance.
So this is weird because we did the analysis on this.
There are not a lot of monsters that have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage in the 2024 rules.
I think we found that there were about 35 total, which include swarms and incorporeal undead. So it's weird that, like, all of a sudden a swarm can't reduce.
Yeah, it's like you're good at hitting swarms
and ghosts.
So, okay, if you are playing in a ghost camp, if you're the Ghostbusters,
ghost swarm.
If you're fighting a swarm of ghosts, this is a good epic
swarms boon. And bugs.
But here's the thing.
Incidentally, almost all those monsters kind of cap out at CR 5-ish.
Yeah.
So
this actually, okay.
Oh, you know what? Actually, here's where this is relevant. You know what are the high CR monsters that do have bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage resistance? The Tarrasque, the Blob of Annihilation, Demi-Liches, Empyreans.
Okay.
So if you're going up against the Tarrasque, I think the stock in this rises considerably.
Yes, and that's a very niche case. I will say that this does feel like...
Is it a niche
Let me
case?
finish my thought, Monty.
What campaign is playing at 20th level and isn't going to use the Tarrasque?
A lot. So, this feels like the people who designed this epic boon feat designed it, and then after went and worked on the monster manual and made the decision to remove bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage resistance from most of the monsters, and forgot to go back. Now, okay, there is a second part to this feat, by the way, which we should talk about too. Overwhelming Strike. When you roll a 20 on the d20 for an attack roll, you can deal extra damage to the target equal to the ability score increased by this feat. The extra damage's type is the same as the attack's type. I want to point out, though, that the first thing that you think of when you read this is for the crit fishing champion fighter. But the crit fishing champion fighter works as a crit fisher because it increases its potential range of its critical hit. This doesn't say critical hit. It says when you roll a 20 on a d20. So even our crit fishers cannot benefit from this. You only technically, I think, math-wise, it's a 5% chance to roll a 20 on a d20. Yeah. So this is an epic boon that you can overcome bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage resistance, which is on a very small amount of monsters. And you have a 5% chance of dealing extra damage.
Notably, it's like an extra 20 plus damage.
Yeah, but I would rather hit when I miss. I'm probably gaining more damage out of turning every miss I made into a hit.
Although in the level 20 campaign where you're running the boss gauntlet, this is better. Because the Tarrasque, the Demi-Lich, the Empyrean, like those monsters, they're bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You can't get past it.
Unless you have this epic boon.
Or a Vorpal weapon. Nevertheless, I do agree. Like, in general, I would go for the Boon of Irresistible Offense.
And I think because of your points, this is a C and not a D. I think it's a C because we are in 20th level play, and there are a number of common 20th level villain monsters that are like epic bosses here.
Okay, I don't know. Just as a DM, I feel that once your characters get to 20th level, you're looking for an excuse to use the Tarrasque. Like if your campaign actually got that far.
Fair.
Yeah.
And then
I'm also just looking at the miniature on the shelf, and I'm just like,
it's over there.
It's been on the shelf since I got it, and I'm like, I want to use that Tarrasque. I'm at level 19 characters right now.
C. I give it a C.
Yeah, I think it's pretty niche.
Boon of Recovery. Increase one ability score of your choice. So again, that is the other thing about the previous one. It's the only one so far that's either Dex or Strength. And you get Last Stand. When you would be reduced to 0 hit points, you drop to 1 hit point instead and immediately regain a number of hit points equal to half your hit point maximum. Once you use this benefit, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. You also gain Recover Vitality. You have a pool of 10 d10s. As a bonus action, you can expend dice from the pool, roll those dice, and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll's total. You regain all the expended dice when you finish a long rest. So once per long rest, you get back up when you're about to die and gain 50% of your hit points back. In between those long rests, you have a pool of dice to just continually heal yourself.
So, some numbers here. The average character at 20th level, if we assume a character with like a D8 hit die and a +3 con mod, which is not unreasonable to assume, I think, for a 20th level character, they have about 160 hit points. Fighters and characters with a D10 hit die and a higher con or barbarians could go even further, like it would be even higher than this. So the Recover Vitality, the self-heal, is giving you the floor here is probably about 80 hit points that it's healing you back. And then the average of 10d10 is 55. So this epic boon feat is basically giving you 130 hit points worth of healing per day.
Which isn't bad.
Well, compare that to the Boon of Fortitude, which was giving us 40 hit points extra, admittedly, hit points that we can heal back, and the con mod thing. In a direct comparison, like if you have a +5 con mod, the boon that gives you the Boon of Fortitude, you would have to get like healed 20 times before it actually is measurably further ahead.
Yeah.
Than this one. I think that's an interesting thing. Like obviously Aura Vitality will do that, like taking on you twice will do that alone. But I think that this is slightly better.
I mean, you're essentially creating a character on average, we're using averages here. You're giving an average character a hit point pool of 280 hit points.
If we go back to that aforementioned barbarian,
yeah,
that barbarian that did take tough and did have the Dwarven resilience, maybe they don't take the Boon of Fortitude, but then their self-heal is now like 150 hit point. Like they're still somewhere in like the 280.
I think this is an A.
Yeah, I think this is.
It's B, it's A, it's one of those, but I think it's pushing into A territory for me.
I think. Okay, the interesting thing is that it also always matters. Like maybe it doesn't matter. Like it matters when it matters in a way that the 40 hit points matter in a different way that it matters, but it feels like if you're gonna take damage, this is gonna save you.
It has some of the same problems as the Boon of Fortitude because again, healing is a countermeasure. You don't want to have to heal, but when you do, you got your self-healing. You just got it on the go.
And this is a lot, and it's a lot of good healing in combat.
And I think, okay, what's actually really beneficial here is like sometimes you can't account for when you need to heal, and you end up getting absolutely hit with a huge attack and you're reduced to 0. But this is, you become the video game boss monster who you hit it and it goes down.
And then your health meter,
goes and it stands back up and you're like, no.
Yeah.
Now you get to be that.
What's interesting here too is like you get back up with half your hit points, and then on your turn you pull in all the bonus the bonus action hit points as well. Heal yourself another massive bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're good to go again.
Yeah.
I think it's an A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boon of Skill. Increase an ability score of your choice by 1. All around adept, you gain proficiency in all skills. And expertise. Choose one skill in which you lack expertise. You gain the expertise in that skill. Okay.
This reads on paper like the skill expert's dream.
But here's the thing. I'm playing a 20th level rogue right now. I took the skilled feat because I was playing a rogue and I got that ability that I can't roll less than a 10 on a skill I'm proficient in. And I was like, cool, I'll take skill. And now I have an extra expertise and I'm only not proficient in I think like 4 skills. And they're ones that I rarely roll.
Like the knowledge skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the character who cares about this already likely has most of what they need.
This is giving you proficiency in the skills that you're bad at. Like you already, because you're 19th, 20th level, you already got expertise in the skills that you care about. You had plenty of opportunities to get it before now.
Yeah.
You already got proficiency in the skills that your character cared about. That, like, for most characters, it's not hard for them to get proficiency in all the skills that are associated with their best ability score.
The person who this appeals to is going to be rogues and bards, because in my opinion, they're the skill guys.
But rogues and bards already got they already
That's
got.
what I'm saying. Rogues are already all the way there. Bards already have jack of all trades. Like you already have half your proficiency bonus on everything, and you've probably got proficiency and expertise in everything you want.
Yeah. As a bard, this is like a weird, like it's only a +3 and like
It's a half measure.
Yeah.
So for bards, it's a half measure. For rogues, if you took the skilled feat, which you should as a rogue, I think, then this actually isn't doing much. And for all the other characters, they just don't care.
Like, because you could have taken the skill expert feat to already get that expert. Like, if you wanted that expertise, you could have gotten it way earlier with the general feat, and you could have gotten like the few extra skills that you wanted. I think this is another one of those cases of like, why are you spending your epic boon on this?
I think it's a D. I don't see a use case for taking it.
I think much like the boon that was giving us resistances, there are so many ways for characters to get resistances. There are so many ways to get skill proficiencies and for characters to get expertise. And if you're waiting until level 20 to get the expertise that you absolutely needed to have to make your, like, no one's going to do that.
Also, it's a team game. And I just want to point this out.
Yeah.
The like 4 or 5 skills that my rogue is not proficient in, there are other players at the table who are. And yes, sometimes I have to make the skill check, and yes, sometimes I fail. But when it matters, when my rogue needs to do acrobatics or stealth or persuasion or anything like that, I'm rolling 20s and 30s right now. And I like, especially with those skills that I have expertise in. And those are the things I care about as a rogue. If Monty's like, Kelly, make a religion check with your rogue, I'm going to be like, do I have to? Like, can't we just get like somebody else who knows religion to step up here and look at the thing? I'm like, it doesn't feel like I'm not sitting there like, man, I wish I had proficiency in religion.
Yeah,
I don't.
And I'm sure there's people that read this feat and like all skills, and it makes your eyes pop. But like but that's what it comes back to, is that your character already got proficiency in the skills they were good at 20 levels ago. If you wanted expertise, you could have had it way earlier. At level 19, this limited epic boon feat that could give you an ability that you could have never had before.
To try to play devil's advocate with ourselves here, does like the barbarian want all skills? But I don't think they do. I think the barbarian's going to be like, no, I'd rather hit with every attack or, you know, do other, like literally anything else we've mentioned.
Because even at this level, like, because here's the thing. If you're proficient in a skill and you have no ability score bonus to it, it's a +6 modifier, which isn't terrible. But again, at 20th level, like this is now where we're starting to face the really high skill checks as well.
Yeah.
So like it's turning, yes, it's giving your character the ability to like succeed at skills that previously maybe they had zero chance of succeeding. But it's not like it made you amazing at those skills. It just it made you amazing at one skill, because potentially you could go by taking this epic boon feat, you could have a skill like that you had a +0 in that now goes to a
Plus 12.
+12.
Yeah.
So potentially, yeah, all of a sudden your character is like amazingly good at the skill that they never were good at before. But I just don't think that's worth an epic boon.
No. Let's move on to the Boon of Speed. Boon of Speed, you get to increase one ability score of your choice by 1. So Escape Artist, as a bonus action, you can take the Disengage action, which also ends the grappled condition on you if you have it. And you gain Quickness. Your speed increases by 30 feet.
Ooh,
Now, okay,
this is good. This is a good feat.
I will say I have some pros and cons here. My first big pro about this is we looked at the other one that we gave S tier, the teleporting one.
The Boon of Dimensional Travel.
Yeah.
30-foot teleport versus 30-foot speed increase.
Now, the trick was the thing that you couldn't do with the teleport is close the distance.
Yeah.
Again, I'm bringing the Barbarian up. Barbarian wants to close the distance. It can't with the teleport. It can only get out. A 30-foot increase to your speed gets you in. So this is great for melee characters who want to close the distance and want to just get into combat. Now, when it comes to mobility, the Boon of Dimensional Travel, I think, is better. And it's actually
a weird definition of it depends on what you prioritize in your mobility.
Well,
this is where it's really hard.
The characters who I think want a lot of movement and the ability to disengage. So when I think of disengaging, great for spellcasters, but I would probably take the Boon of Dimensional Travel instead.
I think for spellcasters for sure.
So then we have skirmishers. Now, our main skirmishers are going to be rogues, rangers, and monks.
Yeah.
Rogues and monks can already disengage as a bonus action. No, they can't get out of grappled, but that becomes a niche situation.
Pretty niche. However, for rogues and monks, they can also dash as a bonus action. And which is interesting here because the ability to dash then stacks with the speed increase. So for example, a rogue that has a base speed of 30 feet, their speed now has got doubled to 60, which is pretty huge. And so they now can dash as a bonus action to cover 120 feet.
So let's say that you're playing a Tabaxi monk. So
Okay.
Tabaxi gives you that ability to double your movement.
Yeah, double your speed.
And you are a 20th level monk.
Plus 30 feet.
So now you're at 60 and can double that.
Let's add the Boon of Speed. So another plus 30.
So you're at 70. No, sorry.
No, we're at 90.
90.
And then you add the speedy feet. We have a speed of 100 feet.
We have a speed of 100 feet.
Yeah.
And you can dash and use your Tabaxi speed, I think, on the same turn?
Yes. So the Tabaxi, because you use the Tabaxi ability, your speed is now 200 feet. And then you dash as a bonus action. And then you dash with your main action. So you cover 600 feet in 6 seconds. If you translate that into actually like vehicle speeds, now obviously the Tabaxi can only do that every other turn, but for that 1 6-second turn, they were effectively going like 68 miles an hour or about 110 kilometers an hour. But if it's every other turn, but they'd have to stop. So you actually like if you're actually trying to travel over land continuously. Like
no, but
it goes down, but it does.
Nobody's getting away from that character though. Like if you want to catch up to the enemy, you catch up to the enemy.
I mean, if you do make it just like you're not using the Tabaxi feature and you're just dashing every turn, that does mean that you are moving like 40.
Yeah,
40
like the Tabaxi's just extra icing. You're still moving really.
And I guess like you're a cheetah.
You're a cheetah.
You're a cheetah.
I do think that this is actually a pretty useful feat. I will say that like, yeah, I think the two characters that want it the most aren't going to pay a lot of attention to the disengage as a bonus action because
might be good for a barbarian or a fighter.
Yeah, true.
Maybe.
To break out of grapples and easily
I
move away.
yeah, I guess so. I mean, I could take this as a fighter. I could take this as a barbarian.
Great
Could
for
take it as a
archers.
ranger. Could take it as a monk. Could take it as a rogue.
It applies to a lot. I think it's an A. I think
Yeah,
it
I do
applies
too.
to a lot of different people.
I don't think it's not giving you anything that you couldn't do before. Like the boon of dimensional travel is
It's
full on
better.
teleportation, and I think that the teleportation is just it's hard to assess, but I think that the speed increase for the characters that can make the most out of it, it's really good, and I think that the for
Tabaxi's also got a climb speed.
yeah.
So they can, I mean, and monks can run up walls.
Yeah. I think this is really good for a monk. I think it's really good for a rogue. I
I
think
think
it's
it's,
really
but you did make a good point that like even fighters and barbarians might want to be able to disengage, break out of grapples, and close the distance.
yeah, and it stacks with the speedy feat. Barbarians also do get fast movement
Yeah.
as well. They do get that increase too. It's pretty good. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Next up, we have the Boon of Spell Recall. You gain the following benefit. You can either increase intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1.
This is the second with a restriction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get free casting whenever you cast a spell with a level 1 to 4 spell slot. You roll a d4. If the number you roll is the same as the slot's level, the slot isn't expended.
Okay. So by this level of play, characters have 4 first level spell slots, 3, and then 3, 3, and 3. So
You have a 25%
percent
chance
chance.
of not losing the spell slot.
Yeah. So it's not quite an extra spell slot at every level, but it's almost an extra spell slot of not of every level from 1 to 4. It's almost an extra,
Almost.
almost.
And knowing my luck, though, I would never, this would
Yeah.
never come up.
And you'd forget it. And
And I
you'd
forget
forget to roll.
But
Yeah.
that is the hard part of this, is this one does completely rely on a dice roll, similar to actually the 2d4 bonus to
Yeah.
a d20 roll. We don't know if this is going to work when we want it to work, but it's something. It's a nice idea.
It's one that you just can't count on. Like if you're counting on it's your last 4th level spell slot and you're counting on getting it back so that you can cast another 4th level spell.
There's going to be cheers at the table if you nail that.
Oh, there will be. There will be, but you'll also be like,
If you didn't,
if you didn't get it. I would have rather this feat just said you get an extra spell slot of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th level.
I mean, that would, yeah. I think that would have been better.
And it would only, at that point, it would have been, I think if it would had it just said that, I would have been giving this an A.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could roll badly, it's a D4, so you can't really manipulate this roll in any way. I just think that and it's also, we're 19th level, so it's not even affecting any of the juicy spell slots like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level.
Now, I will say that most spellcasters here, okay, I have 2 points to make before we give our final ranking.
Okay.
Number 1, most spellcasters have a low-level spell that they are actively relying on consistently. I have Shield for my sorcerer. Getting an extra shield could save your life. We have Hunter's Mark. We have Smites.
Paladins and Rangers, Eldritch Knights, Arcane Tricksters.
That's my other point.
Artificers?
Half-casters only get up to 5th level spells, so most of your spell casting actually has a 25% chance.
But you probably wanted the Boon of Combat Prowess with almost all of those characters.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm making an argument for those characters, but you are absolutely right. Would I rather teleport every time I attack, or would I rather hit every attack I miss?
All those characters would rather have something else.
I still think this could make an argument for a B.
Maybe for an Artificer.
Or is it a C?
I think this is... I just don't know, like, as a wizard, or a sorcerer, or a warlock, are you... warlock, obviously, it doesn't work for you. So...
Well, that sucks. Sorry, warlocks.
Yeah. I just don't... That Boon of Dimension... Like, you're teleporting every turn.
If it did work on warlocks, and you had a chance of getting another spell slot, that would actually be huge.
Yeah, it would. I just... I don't like I like rolling dice, but I don't like the chance that this epic boon just does nothing, or it doesn't give you back the spell slot that you wanted to get back.
Maybe
Like,
it's a C.
it's like a C minus. I could see the argument. Is there an argument for this being D tier? Like, is it that bad? It's better than nothing, but like sometimes literally the dice just decide, hey, your epic boon feat just gave you nothing today.
It's better than nothing, but you get an epic boon feat, and this is not better than a lot of other choices.
Yeah.
Finally, we come to the Boon of the Night Spirit. You can increase an ability score of your choice by 1, and you get Merge with Shadows. While within dim light or darkness, you can give yourself the invisible condition as a bonus action. The condition ends on you immediately after you take an action, a bonus action, or a reaction. That's all well and good, but I like Shadowy 4. While within dim light or darkness, you have resistance to all damage except psychic and radiant.
That's really good. The invisibility thing is kind of useful.
It's kind of useful. I will say, here's the trick. When you're reading this, I actually wish that they had swapped which one came first, because I focus, maybe it's just my brain, I focus more on the first thing I hear than the second thing I hear. And I think the second part of this is way
Yeah,
more
you
impactful.
cast the darkness spell on yourself. You've got your Devil's Sight. Here's your Warlock feat.
Yeah.
Darkness, Devil's Sight, and
And
now
now
I'm
you're-
resistant to all damage.
Everybody has disadvantage on you, and you're resistant to all damage.
Except Psychic and Radiant.
Except Psychic and Radiant.
Notably, you're now resistant to force damage.
Oh!
This is one of the few ways for a character to get resistance to force damage.
So my opinion on this is turning invisible is neat, but
Having resistance to all damage is better.
it's better.
Here's what makes this one good, as opposed to the other feat that gives us damage resistance. This one actually works on bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. This one works on force damage. This works on a bunch of damage types.
Choosing
all the
2
time.
damage resistances every time you long rest is not the same as turning on a button that, I mean, especially if you have the darkness spell. It's a button to just turn on resistance to basically everything in the game. Half damage from everything. The invisibility is nice, but I think that anybody that has True Sight or Dark Vision or Devil's Sight, Gloomstalkers love this. I think that like Shadow Sorcerers love this.
Shadow
Monks love this. There's so many characters that rely on darkness.
I do think that you're going to be building around this if you plan on taking it.
Yeah, it's good for those dark characters.
So is it a B because you do kind of have to build to get the most out of it, or is it an A because it's just so powerful on its own that, you know, because I don't think anyone can just take this one. I do think that you have to think about the strategy of using it, but then you're going to get a lot out of it.
This is going to be for the characters that do lurk in the shadows. There's a lot of them. Most rogues are probably going to like this.
Yeah.
A lot of rangers.
I could even see some, obviously warlocks.
I
could
sorcerers,
some
monks.
sorcerers. Yep. Shadow sorcerers.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I even think like there's arguments to be made that you could be a barbarian or fighter who sticks to the shadows.
By the magnitude of the effect, the relative ease of building around it, and the number of characters that could actually like be like, yeah, I'll take this. Is it an A?
I think it's an A.
Sure.
Okay, we come to the very last one. Almost forgot about this one. Boon of Truesight. You gain the following benefits. You gain an ability increase, any ability score of your choice by 1, and you have True Sight with a range of 60 feet. That's it.
Why would I take an epic boon feat that I can get a spell or a magic item to replicate this ability from?
True Sight is nice.
True Sight's really good.
But for your epic boon?
No.
No.
Especially because, obviously by high levels of play, illusions can be everywhere. Invisible creatures can be everywhere. There can be tons of monsters that are shape changers. But at this high level of play, there's so many, just as before, there's so many options available to you that are not going to cost you a feat to get.
And again, we're comparing these all to each other. If one player is able to teleport every turn 30 feet, another player is hitting all of their missed attacks, and another player gets to see the invisible creature once every 3 sessions. Who's feeling like they picked the good epic boon?
Exactly. Like maybe there is a campaign where you've always got invisible but it's not, because like as a DM, you do hit this point where like you can't have everything all the time being invisible and illusions and everything, because are you going to force the entire party to take this? And then it's like, well, then you might as well have not have
Yeah,
done
now
that,
your campaign's
right?
on.
So like it's good, but it's not amazing. Truesight is very useful.
Mm-hmm.
My ranking for this feat is not saying that having Truesight is bad. It's just that See Invisibility was a 2nd level spell, and
Truesight is a 6th level spell.
is a 6th level spell. And so we've
And they
had,
have magic items like the
yeah,
goggles of Truesight,
yeah,
the Gem of Seeing.
yeah.
Yeah,
We've had options for a long time for dealing with it. We don't need, again, we do not need to spend our epic boon on it.
no, I think it's a D.
Yeah.
Again, gaining Truesight, good. Spending your epic boon on nothing but gaining Truesight, bad.
No, don't do that.
Bad.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end. I think that the first 2 were the clear winners, and there's a few cool choices
Yeah.
based on builds.
Yeah. I
I
think,
would have a hard time not picking one of the first 2, though.
yeah. Yeah. I think that my general advice would be, if you don't know what you want and you're a spellcaster, take the Boon of Dimensional Travel. And you're anyone making attacks, take the Boon of Combat Prowess. If you have something else in mind for your character, consider one of the other feats that we gave an A or B to. And you really gotta want, like,
You really gotta want the C tier, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Boon of Fate and the Boon of Spell Recall, ironically, are promising me as a player. Like, I would have wanted those 2 feats to be the ones that, like, oh, what is my wizard gonna take? That one or that one? But my wizard's like, no, I'm just taking the Boon of Dimensional Travel, because I want the feat that always works.
Yeah. It's better to have something that always does something than something that does something once a session or
Maybe,
once every other session.
yeah, that maybe once sort of works. And with an epic boon feat, it's really hard, like, to justify the gamble on it might not do something,
Yeah.
right? Because we're at level 19 and we're level 20. If you're actually playing at those levels, you're either playing a one shot or it's almost the end of your campaign and you're going to maybe spend 6 sessions at each 6 to 10 sessions, like the number of game sessions you're going to play at those levels. And I say this from the experience of currently DMing a campaign that's at these high levels where we're playing it a lot longer. Like, it's hard to keep the gas in the tank as a DM to sustain a campaign at this level for a long time, because characters are just so powerful.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just like, there's not going to be many encounters. So you want to have these things be things that happen a lot.
So, with all that, again, let's take a look at our final rankings. We'll put them up on screen here. I feel like there's some clear winners.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about if you think any of the other epic boon feats, any of the A's, B's, and especially if you think any of the C's or D's are way better than we gave them credit for. I want to hear like the builds and ideas that make them really powerful in the comments below.
I also have a question for the comments. For those in the comments that watched the end of the video, I have a question about multi-class characters in epic boon feats. Do you need to have 19 levels in a single character class to take an epic boon feat? Or if you are a character that takes 16 levels in one class and 4 levels in another, and you take your levels in such a way that you get that you would take 15 levels in one class, then take 3 levels in the other, and then at level 19 you take your 4th level of the last class, and then at level 20 you take your 16th level of the other class. Are you allowed to take 2 epic boon feats? Because you got a feat from your... Does that work? I'm curious if you would allow that in the comments below.
I think rules as written, it doesn't, because the thing about the epic boon feats is that they are baked into the actual progression of your character.
we were having this debate with Colby from D4 Deep Dive. So I'm curious to know what the community thinks.
Yeah, rules as written versus what do you think in general at your table, because I think those are two different things. And yeah, if you look at like the fighter at level 19, it says like you gain an epic boon feat. So if you don't hit level 19 in fighter, you don't get to the text that says that. But I, as a DM, would probably just be like, we're at 19th level. Go ahead, pick an epic boon.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You tell us. Tell us in the comments below.
The videos that we make on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the work that we do here, please consider supporting the channel. The links are down below.
And if you want to see some 19th and 20th level play, we are just hitting that in our Drakenheim campaign. It's been going on for a while. You can check out all of the previous episodes right up over here.
And we got plenty more tier ranking for the new 2024 rules right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.
In the dungeon.